After the weapon, which Theo had brought from the 75th floor, was appraised, Sejun received it from Aileen. The notification window popped up with a description saying that it was Great Warrior Wooka's throwing hatchet, which was made by Great Dwarf Warrior Wooka, an A-grade weapon. It has high destructive power and flies farther when thrown, and the blade was finished with the hardest metal merthil. Sejun held the hatchet in his right hand, read the description, and wondered how to use its skills. He had momentarily forgotten that he was on the battleground. Suddenly, he saw that the Ents had attacked the black rabbit, and it had constrained him with its branches. Sejun could not think of any solution, and just wanted to try that hatchet. So he threw it with his full power towards the Ent. Just as the written description about the hatchet, it flew at a higher speed while rotating and landed exactly at the goal. It had so much destructive power that it split that larger Ent into two halves. The notification window stated that his attack power increased by 1.5 and wood-splitting level 1 had activated. Everyone at the battleground was shocked, seeing the attack power. Even the black rabbit was still for a moment. Queng and his mother both were shocked when they saw the state of all the Ents surrounding Sejun. Queng's mother commented, how could Sejun split the Ents only in one strike, while Queng became excited that his dad was so awesome, and his dad was no longer a weakling who always ran away. He excitedly fought with the Ents, and complimented his dad that he had become a weakling who would take on the weight of one. The narrator is laughing in the corner. Queng didn't know that he was insulting his father so innocently, but he was feeling good inside. On the other side, the system announced that he had defeated a corrupted Ents larger branch scout and had acquired 500 XP. Sejun was totally amazed by the Wooka's throwing hatchet. He commented that it was as expected from a named item that can split the large Ent's branch scout like nothing. And then he overexcitedly scooped up Theo and started kissing him. He complimented Theo that the orange cat was so pretty and lucky. But it was not the same for the cat, our Theo. He was feeling gross, and on top of that, they were currently in a battle. Sejun was still kissing Theo without his consent, and suddenly an Ent came from behind. Now Sejun had become a brave person, not a weakling like earlier. He summoned the Wooka's throwing hatchet again, and then he totally overpowered the whole battle. All the Ents were sliced up like vegetables. After attacking all Ents, he retrieved the hatchet with his right hand, while he was holding Theo in the left. Both Sejun and Theo became delighted seeing that. Then Theo climbed onto Sejun's head, while Sejun challenged the larger Ents that they would be dead, and he would show them properly the power of Tower Farmer from now on, while Theo cheered that he would support his chairman, and then they charged towards the Ents. After fighting all night, the battle ended, and they became victorious while the battleground was filled with piles of wooden materials, and Minotaurs started cleaning up everything. They cut the Ents into chunks and broomed the field. After getting everything done, the Minotaur informed Sejun, who was in the underground cave washing up, that they had almost cleaned up and they were going to plough the field now. Sejun washed his face and dried it with the towel while reminding them to take it easy. After that, he plopped down on the nearby stone. He was quite tired. He sighed. His entire body felt sore after fighting all night. Then he opened the status window to check the progress. He was delighted seeing that he had reached level 25, and he even got 2 more talents, and his stats increased by quite a lot. Now he had 7 skills. He was so happy, but the narrator doesn't know why he called himself a criminal. But anyway, he had an amazing status window. He hugged himself happily and complimented that he was doing quite well, and was so proud of himself, and even wanted to give a kiss to himself. Suddenly Aileen whispered, "Me too," which popped up behind Sejun's head. He turned to ask what she said, but Aileen became flustered and screamed. It was so embarrassing. Sejun was puzzled about what was wrong with her. The notification window stated that the tower manager said nothing, and there seemed to be an error in the status window. Sejun wondered how there could be an error in the status window. Well, anyway, while the farmer rabbits were watering the cherry tomatoes, Theo headed towards the end of the cave where Flame was located. He greeted her with great enthusiasm that he had heard about her from Sejun. Flame also greeted Theo, but the cat wanted to hold the flame but couldn't do so, which seemed interesting to Theo, while Flame became irritated by him, and then she shooted fireball at him. Theo dodged it with great difficulty. He was surprised by this. Flame warned him not to touch her as he pleased. She stood in the defensive pose and was greatly annoyed by his behavior. Theo commented that it was wonderful that how fire could come out of the leaves, and said sorry to the flame that he wouldn't joke around anymore. Then he took out a big fish from his magic bag and requested Flame to grill the fish for him because he was craving it, but Sejun was too busy to do that. Flame replied that it was a piece of cake for her. Then she shot her fireball. It enveloped the fish as a whole, and it became a nice golden charred fish. Theo was surprised. He took a bite and thanked Flame that it was so refreshing and amazing while shaking his tail as he enjoyed it. Flame giggled at his response. At that moment Sejun came and told Theo not to bully Flame. Theo replied that he was not bullying her, and she had grilled a fish for him. Sejun complimented her that he was so proud of her. Flame giggled and said it was nothing. Suddenly a pop-up notification reminded him that the cooldown time of Growth Promoter Level 1 skill is over. Sejun saw that, and then an idea came to his mind. He squatted down and asked Flame if he could use the Growth Promoter skill on her. Flame wanted to confirm that such a precious skill was really going to be used on her. Sejun replied in affirmation that she is so small now, so she must quickly grow and become a healthy tree. Flame bowed and replied that she would gladly accept it. It was so polite and cute. Sejun wanted to try only half of the power he usually used on the crops. He readily activated growth promoter skills. Suddenly a bunch of notifications flashed that the apple tree's growth potential was enormous, and it was using the all-power of growth promoter on her. Sejun was astonished, and then he suddenly felt like all his energy was drawn from his body into the small plant. His mana, it felt like it was all being sucked in, but even after sucking all the power, she seemed to be grown only a little bit in length. Flame happily thanked her master that her body was overflowing with energy. But on the other hand, Sejun was totally exhausted. He plopped down on the ground. Flame and Theo both became very worried and asked if he was okay. Flame was feeling even more guilty because Sejun had used his power on her. But he quickly denied it and reassured her that it was because of exhaustion from fighting all those Ents from earlier. And everything was fine except that he was feeling a little dizzy. Hearing this, Flame quickly replied that she had a method to relieve his exhaustion. Sejun, who had fought all night and then exhausted all his mana on her, was looking like a panda with dark circles under his eyes, was surprised hearing this. Then, without anything saying, Flame directly used her skills, which were different from earlier, like white energy tinged with light blue surrounding her. When she gathered enough of the white energy, she forwarded towards Sejun. Sejun was first surprised by the white flame, but then the energy engulfed his body. He felt something cool, and his body somehow felt lighter. He asked her if it was because of that white flame, while Theo commented that Sejun was on fire. The notification stated that he had been engulfed by the flame of purification, and for the best 3 hours the flame of purification would burn off any impurities and improve the body conditions. Sejun was quite surprised by it, and then complimented Flame that she was an amazing magic tree. Flame giggled and replied modestly that she was glad she could help her master. Then Sejun asked if she had any other ability aside from earlier ones, to which Flame replied in affirmation. She then counted that other than the flame of purification, she had the flame of friendship skill. Sejun asked what was that skill. Flame elaborated that the flame of friendship was an ability that allowed Sejun to control fire for a while or enhance the power of fire. Sejun was astonished that he could also use the flame's ability, which was wonderful, and then he started planning that it would be effective when it was used against the Ents. But Theo was getting impatient. He nudged Sejun that he was only focusing on flame. He should prioritize him, and he also had a few important stories left to tell him. Then he disclosed that a human named Han Taejun had found out that he was not staying on the 40th floor. Hearing this, Sejun paused, and then his mind clicked. He became nervous.